And we are live. Welcome to this edition of the Black Lesbian Liberation Speaker Series presented by the L Project for the Venus community. Follow Venus on Instagram at Meet on Venus app. And you can follow the L Project at L Project LA and visit our website at thelproject.org. So I want to welcome back our panelists, Tracee M. Porter and Dr. Shirley Denise Rivers. And praise Jesus, but we have Marsha Warfield on the panel today. Marsha,
Thank you for
yeah,
having
we got to
me.
give a big round of applause. Marsha, I want you to, introduce yourself to the audience and tell everybody what you've been up to recently.
I'm Marsha Warfield. I'm here for comic relief, I believe. I'm just here to maybe throw in a joke every now and again. As you see, I am the queen of the Marsha verse. I created my own world because I don't like the way they run this one. And I have my own religion, the Church of Jesus, where we worship the original mother and all her children. And I also have a podcast, a webcast called Midnight in the Marshaverse, where we get together and chill out and talk a lot of smack and try to solve all the problems of the world in between chilling and having a good time.
Right on. Well, welcome to this series, Marsha. Love to have you here. MW, Tracee, and Shirley. We are, first, let me just say, Iyatunde cannot be with us tonight, and we hope you feel better, Iyatunde. So, if you guys are tuning in, uh, we we're just gonna go over a little bit of what we talked about in our last episode about feminism without intersectionality being white supremacy. Um, if you're tuning in right now, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this digital initiative that centers around social justice and intersectional feminism while aligning with the L Project's mission to promote, support, and inspire emerging LGBTQI, BIPOC women, and non binary creatives through the arts and technology. So, our conversation today will focus on liberal white supremacy. And that was inspired because of a personal experience I had inside of a Democratic club. And I won't name names. However, I'm just going to give a little quote from Dr. Angie Beeman's book called Liberal White Supremacy: How Progressives Silence Racial and Class Oppression. When liberal European Americans talk down to or speak for people of color, use them as sounding boards for their white fragility, or befriend them to gain legitimacy as anti racist, they uphold liberal white supremacy. And I thought that was a great intro into the conversation because I'm sure we all have people or women or just individuals, white liberals in our circles who don't even realize what they're doing. So, Marsha, I want to kind of kick it off to you. Um, in what ways do liberal policies and practices inadvertently perpetuate white supremacy, even when they appear to be inclusive or progressive?
Whoa, that's a hell of a question.
That's a
Um,
loaded question.
yeah, it is. In my opinion, um, I made a post a while ago that said that America was not a democratic republic or all that kind of stuff. It's a plantation. When it was founded, uh, all the states had slavery. It was founded to protect the slave owners, and black people have always existed in opposition to that dynamic. And so our politics have never been so much liberal or conservative, or they've been black. And that's been a whole separate category, I think, until the election of Barack Obama, when grassroots um, external politics became absorbed into the Democratic Party and made liberalism and all that kind of stuff a factor that I don't remember it being when I was growing up. I lost you.
Second. Yes, I'm a child of the 60s. So the politics of today is nothing like the politics in the when I was growing up. Tracee, did you want to add on to that at all?
Most definitely. As you know, you guys were child in the 60s. I was a child of the 70s into the 80s. So my generation, Gen Xers, we were supposed to be the promise of the civil rights movement. You know, we were supposed to be the children of affirmative action and the Voting Rights Act and all the good things that were supposed to come as a result of the civil rights movement. But I'm seeing, and of course, up until, maybe the last 20, 15 years, there was still that promise that we were, in a lack of we shall overcome, but we ain't overcome nothing. Because once the scales fell from my eyes and I went back to school, um, I realized that this country was not built on that promise. The country was built, as Marsha pointed out, on racism and the plantation system. And white liberalism, these people who pretend, I don't want to start saying they smile in your face all the time, they want to take your place, backstabbers. But I see these, I'm in these spaces now that I've never been in before. And I don't see, what I do see is tokenism, especially around my story. I was convicted of a felony 25 years ago for something I did not do. And now that I'm finding my voice, I'm finding all these people wanted me to tell my story, but they don't want to find out why why this situation was in this, I'm in that situation because of policies, or just, they don't want to know the reason why. They just want to raise money off of my story. They don't want me to they want to tell my story, but they don't want to hear the reasons why and what we can do to make it better. Because if I start really telling the story and telling what I went through, then they have to question about how they criminalize poor folks, how they don't take care of people, and how they disinvest in neighborhoods that I grew up in. I was having this conversation about why is it that when I was in high school, I had to go on a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning to leave the hood to South Central LA to go to the Valley, and it's still LA unified. Why are we doing these things? Why is there no equity in this country? And if we have to start asking these questions, nobody really wants to give you those answers.
Right, right. Uh, Shirley, did you want to add to that? Anything?
When did you start calling me Shirley?
Right now, today.
Yuck.
Dr. Rivers, I'm sorry, Dr. Rivers.
You got to
And
start
don't call
something.
me Shirley.
Make it Denise. At least make it Denise. Okay. So for me, I think the issue is that it's a colorblind ideology, right? And so it focuses on like overt racism over institutional racism, right? And it focuses on individuals and it ignores like systemic disadvantages. Um, I think liberal white supremacy has a tendency for white progressive to engage in like extensive discussions about racism without taking any concrete actions that would challenge like the status quo for them. And to Tracee's point, like Tracee is like, I understand what you're saying, and Chris, probably you also, because it's so easy to go from pet to threat with white liberals, right? Like one day you're their best pet. Oh, Denise is so nice. She's so smart. She's so blah, blah, blah. But the moment Denise calls you out on your shit, then I'm a problem. I'm the angry black woman. I'm aggressive. Like I'm harsh and, I don't work well with others. And so I think that it's all just a way to like have like racism evasiveness, right? Like talk about like they're all talk. Like I still have not changed my mindset that they're not all talk. And until I see more action, then for me, they're just all talk.
Right, right.
Well,
Well,
can I say the reason why you had to go to school in the Valley was because of the civil rights movement and the gains that said you had to integrate schools and all kids had to have equal opportunity. The plan was for the Valley kids to also be bused into your school. But the backlash against that was so great, not just in the South, not just in the West. Boston led the charge against busing, and it was almost unanimous. We're not sending our kids to the inner city, and so black kids got displaced. But that was also a continuation of the policies that happened when I was in school. My districts always got gerrymandered, and I went to a different school every year because they had to meet the quotas that were being imposed. And so this school that was in a predominantly black neighborhood, now those kids had to go to a predominantly white school for a year, and then they would fix that in their mind, and now I got to go back to the other school. And so it was always a push and pull fight to get the access, to get the legislation done, and then to implement it. And it's been pretty consistent from what I can tell since the beginning of the country. But it manifests itself in that way after the life-changing gains of the civil rights movement, when you had black people again agitating from the outside. Now, they were not inside the Democratic Party. They were not inside any political party. They were agitating from the outside. And so now you have a movement that has persuaded a Dixiecrat to sign this legislation. It sent the whole, it upset the whole apple cart. And the fights that had been ongoing to that point took a different little tack, but it still was the same trajectory even after the landmark legislation. So you're progressing and still fighting the same battles.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Marsha. The bottom, your tail end of that dropped out for me in my
Oh,
headphones.
sorry.
I want Shirley, did you have Dr. Rivers? Did you have anything to add to that?
I just want you to call me Denise. It don't have to be Dr. anything, just not Shirley.
All right.
No, I'm good on that. Let's
All right. So look, let's talk about some of our white friends who say they're colorblind, so they can't be racist. So how does the notion of color blindness contribute to the erasure of Black lesbian experiences and reinforce white liberal supremacy?
I'll go
Liberal
on that
white
one.
supremacy.
Because I grew up in a white neighborhood, and then we were removed back to the hood, right in the middle of the crack epidemic. So I was under the delusion that there was such a thing as color blindness, until I realized that if you say you're colorblind, then you don't see me, because by you saying that you're colorblind, that means you don't not only see me, you don't see anybody else that might challenge your perception of racism. Because when I call you out on your racism, and when I say to you, then when they say, if one more white person had said to me, "Oh, honey, I don't see color. I see, but then what do you see? If you don't see color, because I'm as black as they come. So if you don't see me, if you don't see my color, who are you seeing? And what are you saying that my color doesn't matter? That me being black, that my experience is being black and the black, not only black, but black and queer, black and justice impacted, black and economically disadvantaged at the moment, or what have you, then what are you seeing? Because then you're choosing to see what you want to see. You're cherry picking what you're going to see. Because the problem with most white people is that when they see racism, they think of racism, they think of crosses burning and Jim Crow and hoods and all these things, but they don't see the worst part. I'd rather deal with the KKK then because at least I know what I'm dealing with. I know who they're coming from. I know what they're all about. They're dealing with somebody that covert racism, that system that is baked into the system. And that by saying you don't see me, you don't see color, you don't see my struggles, nor do you see the struggles of anybody that looks like me or sounds like me or acts like me. I said asks. Yeah, I sure did. Acts like me. Acts color. Yes, I said that.
I
That's
think that when it comes to color blindness, that, like it denies like a lived reality of race, right? And for Black lesbian women, like when our experiences in racism like are not inseparable from our experiences in sexism and homophobia, like even in like the LGBT space, like we could face discrimination in white dominated LGBT spaces and homophobia in Black spaces, classism, in economic spaces, and saying that you're colorblind um, doesn't address all that, right? It just looks at one individualized um, critique, right? And it doesn't give them the opportunity to intersect all the things that we are dealing with. And so that is initially my greatest issue with color blindness.
Hello.
All right. So we are like I'm having a little audio difficulty over here, so apologize for that. Look, can you guys let's talk about examples of how we're challenged in some of these spaces with possessive investment in whiteness. And for me, in the Democratic Club that I'm a member of, I think that some of them were so defensive about me challenging them on their unconscious bias and the way that it came across, that most of them didn't want to do the work. They really did get defensive. And to this day, because that was a couple years ago, to this day, they still have not. It's like they're clinging on to that I'm not racist kind of crap. And, we talked a little bit about, well, I can't be racist if I'm gay, which is like a crazy thought to me. But anyway, did anybody want to jump on that?
Well, I'll talk about color blindness. I talk about it in my act. I talk about the people who say, I don't see color. I treat
Mm.
everybody like they're white. And about the burden that puts on Black people, because in order for you to convince yourself you're colorblind, we have to agree to be colorless. And so we have to, I say, do things like practice it we have to don our cloaks of invisible blackness and practice in the mirror saying things like, hi, how are you? Because you can't let a hey, what's happening slip out. That's grounds for dismissal. And I talk about this kind of colorblind dodge, but the bottom line for me is that everybody who is not a white male is a target for white supremacy. Some don't know it. And the people who know it best are the Black women who have nothing in common with white men. Black men are men, white women are white. Black women are none of that. And we've had to see the whole situation play out with the accommodationism on the Black male side and the trying to find equality for themselves with white men and expect us to find equality with white women and not equality for men and women. They don't see it. And white women have this similar, they want the proximity to white maleness and not Black women. So we've seen this whole thing from a whole different perspective than anybody else and have and it also makes us a unique threat because nobody else is fooled. I mean, we are not fooled by these pretenses that you're on my side and I'm on your. We know better. We know that when we are in feminist spaces, that white women will often and most of the time try to take over as leaders because we are seen as the permanent servant class. And when you step out of that uh, yes or yes attitude, it short circuits people's brains because they've been indoctrinated to immediately put you in a box and dismiss what you say. And I say that to say Black women are in a unique position to advocate for equal justice for all because we get it from every side.
Right.
And I think, Chris, that in terms of challenging and disrupting, like the investment of whiteness is that, for my own self, like I keep all of my experiences like at the intersection of every single thing that I am, right? Like I don't ever let anyone like reject the fact that I am dealing with all of these things as a Black woman, racism, sexism, whatever, and where our white lesbian counterparts are different is that they get to walk through the world as a white woman. That's it. They don't have to be a lesbian white woman, a poor white woman, whatever. They get to walk through this world as a white woman, nothing first, right? But as a Black lesbian woman, it depends on what room I'm walking into as to what walks in first. The lesbian, the Black, you know, the gender, all of those things play a part. And so I think for me, the way I challenge it is to always let it be known, like, yes, I'm a Black woman, yes, I'm a lesbian, yes, whatever, like, and you don't get to take any of that away by saying, oh, this is Dr. Rivers. No, this is all the names, all the things, because a single conscious individual that don't have to worry about all the things that I do on a daily basis don't get to erase that.
Absolutely. When we walk into a room, we walking in as first and foremost, we walk in as Black women. They don't have to know anything about our sexuality or anything like that. But we walk in as Black women, and we are judged before we even open our mouths. The first time I never felt quote unquote Black, or is when I went to London, and it was 2009, right after Obama had been the inauguration. And until I opened my mouth, they didn't know where I was from. They just saw Black women. They didn't know an American. They didn't know anything. And I felt different in Europe than I've ever felt in my entire life as in this country. And I was like, so this is what it feels like, just to be me. They don't care that I'm Black or anything like that. It was just me. And it was, and then when I did speak, they're like, "Oh, you're an American," and I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, and thank everybody was like, "Thank God, the reign of terror was over." But still, it was just a freedom that I've never felt since, because I haven't really left the country since then. But it's just to know that there are places where I can go that they don't judge me because all the isms that are in this country. And not to say that those isms are not in other countries. I am not naive to that, but it was just different. And I'm pretty sure anybody that's traveled outside this country knows what I mean. Well, Chris, you
I keep turning my mic off. That was my experience. I'm a Navy vet. So right 10 days after I graduated high school, I was in boot camp. And then after I finished my schooling, I went straight to a town called Rota, Spain. They had a huge Spanish Navy base there. And it was the first place I'd ever been that welcomed me with open arms. There was no, anti-blackness. They weren't racist. They were like, "Oh, come on in, Christina. Yeah, let's go." So yeah, it was that really left a big impression on me. And but now I hear that when you go back to Spain, they're kind of more racist in northern Spain than they were in southern Spain. But I had a woman, an Indian woman from London, in my Uber one day. I was doing Lyft, and she says the colonizers have turned the whole world racist, and that is pretty much how I feel right now. Like no matter where Black folks go, they're going to probably endure some sort of racism. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, in this
So,
country, I have traveled this country as a younger woman doing stand up, going from one suburban town to another, where I was most often the only Black person in town, period. And if there were two, they expected us to be intimately related. And so I've had a lot of experience uh, being not only being the only Black person in town, excuse me, but standing up in front of them. That was my job, to stand up in front of them and tell them off, pretty much. Tell them what I'm thinking and what I feel, and that sort of thing. So it was a different experience for me. I knew that I was the only Black person in town. They let me know that right away. They weren't necessarily hostile, but the first time it happened, I went to Newport Beach. I was in the 70s. And I was working at a new club. And as I went across the street to go to the store, a car pulled up and said, "Hi, Marsha." I'm like, "Yeah, hi. Who are you?" "I don't know you." They said, "Oh, we know you. You're the Black girl. We saw as a Black girl at the club, and so it has to be you." And then they asked me if I knew Clarence. And I didn't know Clarence, but he was there, one Black guy, and I think he was a janitor. So the dynamic that I have experienced is a little different than, uh, uh,
It,
the only time I really felt kinship was here at the Museum
mm,
of African American History when it first opened. And I went in and I felt like I was related to everybody in the place. It was, I wanted to just walk around, "Hey, cuz, hey, how you doing?" And people were looking at me like I was crazy. But that's pretty much the only time I ever felt complete kinship, and not judged out of somebody else's prejudice.
and
right.
like you guys know, like my wife and I just had a house built by the beach in Lewis, right? And it's weird. I mean, we are so far, as far as I know, we're only Black homeowners, Black lesbian homeowners here. And last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm working, so I ordered out for lunch, ordered DoorDash, and so the DoorDash guy came, and I go to the door to grab the food. He's like, "Is this your food?" He says my name. I'm like, "Yeah." And then all of a sudden, he turns around and says, "Are you house sitting?"
Oh.
Yeah.
I said, "Yep," and closed the door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my
I'm sitting
Lord.
in my house, sir.
Yeah,
I'm sitting in my house. Yes, I definitely house sitting. Absolutely.
that
And
is
the,
crazy.
and the fact that he even had I'm assuming that he was a white man, the caucasity to even fix his mouth. Yes, that caucasity to fix his
Uh,
mouth, to even say anything to you. That, and when you were saying about, racism wherever we go, but at least in these other places, other countries that we go to, there may be racism, but the chances that we're going to die because of their racism or we're going to be unalived because of that racism, very, very, those odds are very low that that's going to happen. If I'm going to deal with racism, at least I'm going to go somewhere where, okay, I won't die. I won't get, people won't run me over or accost me or arrest me or any of the things because I'm black. So to that point, but ever since I've heard that word caucasity, it says
Caucasity.
the caucasity of it all.
To me, it was just like the thought process that I could not afford this house. Like, this could in no way be my house. What?
And in my day, I would have been the maid.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
That's why I said I would never play a maid in any role. I don't care what the way the maid could be the richest woman in the world. She could have a heart of gold. She could be. I'm not playing nobody's maid. And when it comes to, well, I'd rather play a maid than be a maid. I'd rather hire the maid. I don't want to be the one.
That's what Hattie McDaniel says. She's like, I'd rather play a maid than be a maid. But Marsha's like, nah, sis. I'm just going to, none of that. I'm going to hire the maid. Okay, that's aspiration. I'm aspiring to that part. I'm going to hire the maid.
Right. Look, I stopped wearing a black vest when I go to events at hotels because they always think I'm the damn valet.
Well, you could get a lot of cars like that.
Can you go get my car? I looked at it, I said, can you stop asking every black person you see to go get your car? I'm not the damn valet. This dude followed me from the corner. I knew it was coming. I saw his eyes. He was trying to lock eyes with me. I was like, oh my God, I know. So I turned around and walked away. Sure enough, he followed me all the way into the hotel. I was like, dude, he got cursed out that night. Anyway, yes. But let's get back to our conversation. Okay. Let's talk about the role intersectionality plays in exposing the shortcomings of progressive strategies. Now we've got a lot of shit going on right now because we have a White House who really is investing in their whiteness, literally putting boots on the ground. And so what do you guys think we should be doing on the ground to counter what's happening right now?
I'm going to start this off as someone that is married to a Washington, D.C. police captain. Dealing with this, like, I'm really going to take advice from other people because I see them rage baiting Black people.
Mm-hmm.
I see white officers using what's happening in the White House to be very disrespectful to Black folk. I see them really pushing the limits when it comes to their force, and having 47 say out loud at his press conference in DC that the police can knock the hell out of them and he doesn't care what they do. They are taking heed to that. And as much as I feel like I want to fight, I want to do all the things, like right now, white people have been emboldened to kill us. They have been emboldened to kill us. All white officers know they're going to get off. They're at least going to get pardoned in the next 3 years if they go to jail. And so, while I feel like under normal circumstances, there will be a lot for us to do, I would have a ton of suggestions in what we should do. All I'm doing right now is really leaning on the white people in my space that I trust. Like, I'm leaning on them to stand up for me, to get in front of me, to get in front of us. Like I'm dependent on them to get out in the street because I'm not going out in the street. I'm not. I'm not
Me
encouraging
neither.
anybody Black to go out in the street. I don't even want my wife, who's a Black cop, to go the fuck outside. Like, what you going outside for? No. So, yeah, I got nothing.
And I second that emotion, Denise. I've actually written about what I will and will not do. I will write. I will give speeches like both you and I have done. But I am not putting myself out there. We're part of the 92% of Black women who voted to save democracy in 2024. We did our Black jobs. And if you expect for me to put my life out for it and put myself out in harm's way for a country who could give a damn about me, you got another thing coming. I tell my white friends, don't get in your feelings when you ask me why I'm not protesting. I'm like, because I'm not. Because it's not safe for me. There's a target on my back. There's a target. The man has
Absolutely.
said he has been raging against this since he's been raging against Black folks since the 70s. Let's be real. When he wouldn't rent to Black people, when those young men he took out full page ads when they exonerated 5 children saying that they needed to be killed. These were children. This man has never hid his racism and his disdain and his hatred for Black people. And now he's running the country into the ground even more so than it already was run into the ground. But they've been waiting, just salivating, waiting for us to march in mass to protest. We ain't doing it. We're not doing it because we do a lot of things. Stupid ain't one of them. And if white people want to protest, you're the reason why we're in this because y'all sat back and let this man get back into office. Y'all didn't call out your friends, your neighbors, and say, I'm trying really hard not to. The fuck is wrong with y'all?
Let it go. Let it go.
What the fuck is wrong with you that you are bragging about voting for this man? And now that he's in office, they are now quickly finding out they are not the right white. They are losing their jobs like everybody else is losing their jobs. So y'all need to be out in these streets. This is my advice. You get in those people's faces that we don't have time for the gentle parenting of fascists, and we no longer have time for purity politics. You need to get in people's faces and say, we have a chance to do right. What does Celie say? Until you do right by me, everything you do will fail. And until you do right by Black women, everything in this country will do is going to fail. And that's all I got.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you in the words of the comedy goddess, Miss Marsha Warfield, America needs to go to her room till she learns how to vote.
They need a major timeout. They need y'all.
Yes.
America needs to go to her room till she learns how to vote. Yeah,
I'm in a different position. My job is to stand up to these people and just stand up and take a stand, and so I will. What I want people to understand is protesting in the street is a tactic. It is not the tactic. It is not the only way to fight. And we have to use all the tools that we have, uh, as we have been doing. I've been doing a lot of research because I love the nighttime and I wanted to know why was I drawn to the nighttime. And I started researching all of the activism that happened parallel to America's progress in Black progress that happened at night. Even in slavery, enslaved people met at night to strategize, to celebrate, to create a society and a network and networks across the country. And so I think we have to change the narrative. the expectations that people have, we have to change those expectations. And I try to do that. I said, it was why I created the Marshaverse and why I do, and I'm working on the projects I'm working on, is so that you stop promoting the same tired tropes and expectations and write new stories. Everything we know starts with a story. They are told stories, we are told different stories. They are taught, we are taught our school work, everything starts with a story. Once upon a time, George Washington chopped down the cherry tree and all that kind of crap. And nobody says, yeah, but he was a slave owner and his buddy Tommy was a child rapist. Let's change the narrative so that people are not laboring under the delusion that this is some a pure thing, and disabuse people of the notion that you can claim America without change and still be a good person. You can't. And that's what they want to protect more than anything. But I'm a good person. No, you're not.
Mm-mm.
And this is why.
No, you're not. Absolutely.
That line, I'm a good person, is exactly, Tracee, when we were having that conversation at the
Woo!
gym bar, that is
Man,
exactly what the person said. I'm a good person. And Tracee was like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
and I wrote an entire article about white women's tears because that when especially and it's my fault because I get lulled into believing that white. I mean, and like I said, I have some really good friends who are white who were possibly. I'm pretty sure are. Yeah, I know they're ride or die bitches. I know they are, but I find myself getting lulled into these spaces, into this false sense of security where you're in progressive spaces, you have to talk, and everybody's all, yeah, we're going to fight racism. Yes, welcome to the revolution. But when you just have a joke, and I say it was just a joke that every time I say it to a group of white women, they crack up because they get it. One of the things I say is, white women tears are my elixir. And see, y'all laughing. And all the white women that I usually hang with, even white women who are strangers to me when I say that, they laugh because they know where it's coming from. But this one particular white person, she was just, her whole world cracked. And she pretty much felt that I was being anti-white, not to say that besides the fact that my wife is white, that's a whole other conversation. But it's like, y'all, it was, and even when her white counterpart took her outside to explain to her why she was so wrong, because she told me to be quiet. Or no, it wasn't so much be quiet, but
And
I
had
don't
her
want
finger in your face.
and have her finger in my face, and I'm like, bitch. And then try to act like, well, no hard feelings. And I'm like, I can't even look at you without wanting to punch you in your throat. But see, if I punch her in the throat, God, I'm going to jail. So,
Right.
and I've been in orange. It is not the new black. That's some white women bullshit. I don't ever want to be in orange again unless it's my choice. I don't even like wearing, I used to love orange. I don't even want to wear the goddamn color anymore. They stole that color from me. So when people, but I'm a good person, I'm doing the work. No, if you were doing the work, first you would know it was a joke. Second of all, even if it is a joke, you would know the basis of because of how many people have become unalive, lost their jobs, become unalive, lost their homes, lost everything because of white women's tears. So when a black woman says white women's tears are my elixir, she's reclaiming that power and saying, bitch, I'm going to drink your tears and I'm turning it into power. Yes, that's why I just said that shit.
That's
Okay,
right.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, go ahead and cry. I don't care. I mean, go ahead and cry. I'm unmoved. I am unmoved by your performance. Because they turn it on like Lucille Ball and I Love Lucy, where one
Mm-hmm.
minute Ricky's coming in the door, so maybe she won't get in trouble. I don't really care. Go ahead and cry. Cry all night. Fuck you. I don't care.
Fuck what
Wow.
you're going
Yeah.
through. Fuck what you're going through.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about the actions, right? I think what do we want out of this? We want our white lesbian community especially, I think, to become more action oriented and really work on integrating their own communities, because last time we talked about them standing up, you know, identifying racist situations and calling that shit out at work. So what other actions do we believe that our white lesbian feminists could take? Because there's some white lesbian magas out there like Jillian Michaels, and I just don't.
Ooh, with a black child, with a black
With a
baby.
Haitian child and out there, oh my God! I saw a post by her the other day, and I just went, she has lost her mind. You got a
Go back
black
to
She's
baby,
a
and
good
this is the
person,
shit that you're fucking saying right now. Ugh.
but
But
she's
anyway,
a good
what
person.
concrete steps?
She's
I
not a
want to give
bad
people
woman.
action because we are action oriented. I need them to do some shit.
I think sharing our reading list, because they have to re-educate themselves, right? They really need to understand, as much as they feel neutral, as much as they believe that they are neutral, they need to understand how their action, lack of calling out contributes to our suffering, right?
Mhm.
And granted, like, I wish we all could just stay quiet and issues would resolve themselves, but that's not going to happen. Like, I would love to see them begin to re-educate themselves and reframe their understanding really of what intersectionality is, especially when it comes to their black lesbian sistering.
Money,
Money too. You know, you know,
money.
you know, that's my first thought. Give me the
Yeah, because I'm
pay
so,
me.
I'm shocked that that's not what you led with, Denise.
Right, right. But you know, it's always pay me. It's always
Reparations,
pay
damn it,
me.
reparations.
Yes.
Reparations.
I want my 40 acres and a mule and my money.
I,
I want my
look,
money.
Pay me.
look,
Yeah.
pay me.
Don't ask us to do shit for free. Pay us.
I want my money.
And like Marsha was saying, protests, you don't have to be out in the street. You might not be comfortable be out in the street. However, then open up that checkbook. Do people still write checks? We want them
Right.
to write check. Venmo, okay. Venmo, there's Zelle, there's the Cash App. Put money into these organizations that are being led by people who look like us. And when you
That's
do
right.
ask us to become part of your organizations, don't tokenize us. Don't use our stories to raise money. Put us at the table because because we have the lived experience. I am a lived experience expert. My lived experience is my expertise. Yes, I have a degree, but I don't need a PhD. My PhD is surviving the crack cocaine epidemic in the 80s in South LA. That's my expertise. My expertise is
And the
realizing
white woman you married to.
that, okay, I was going to say that too. My expertise is living with a white woman who, when she did try that start one day, I was just having it, and she started to cry, and I'm like, no, because again, I am an expert on white women's tears because I live with a white woman that does the pearl clutching and stuff, and I'm like, no, no. We're not. We're still going to have this discussion, regardless of how much you cry. I'll go get you some tissue. I'm cool with that. But you're not going to diffuse the situation and make me feel bad and guilt me into stop this discussion because you're crying. So if I'm saying this to a woman that I love and I'm married to, how the fuck you think I'm going to do to this some random white bitch off the street? Yes.
Ow.
See, I don't want them to do nothing. I want them to be quiet and follow me.
Okay.
I am tired of the expectation that they can save me, that I am incompetent to chart my own course, not just for myself, but for you too. And so instead of always trying to provide me with an answer that I haven't to a question I haven't asked, shut up and listen and follow me. I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. And I'm going to tell you what my plan is. And as I said before, I'm going to change the narrative. I'm not going to cooperate with your expectations and your narrative. And this is what I'm supposed to come to you all downtrodden and we need, and I'm so, and I'll go do something to yourself, follow me, or get out the way. Those are the two options. I don't really have time to coddle you and pretend that I give a shit about your tears.
Exactly.
That part. I still think they should
Exactly.
fund it. I think they can. They can't fund us either, Marsha. They can't give
Well,
us.
they can do that. I mean,
Okay.
that's you ain't got to make no noise to use a credit card. I mean, ain't nobody asking no verbal questions or nothing. You
I,
could just you
for
can
me,
put that in on the
really
computer.
need them to talk to their people, right? Because I'm burnt out on educating white folks about white folks and racism. I don't want to do it anymore. I want them to educate themselves enough so they can call it out and they can talk to their friend groups and their peers at work and their families and their Uncle Johns or whatever. Because unlike Tracee, I'm gonna smack the hell out of one of them, okay? Because violence is a universal law, and I'm for mutiny. And anybody who knows me knows that I support violence, right? So I am not going to shy away from smacking the hell out of one of them. I'm not. And so just so I don't have to do it, I'm gonna stay in my house and house it. To do the work.
City.
Like it won't come to the
Oh,
doorbell like
shit.
it did.
Yeah.
It'll come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I mean, but I think everybody should do something. What it is depends on what your gifts are, and we need everybody's gifts. It wasn't again with the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement. It wasn't one approach that won the day. It was everybody doing what they thought was most important, and that culmination gave support and came together in many ways as a coalition
And
that helped
I know,
move
and
forward.
Marsha, I hope we're gonna have you back because this is something that I really want to understand. How do we teach a culture of people who have taken the world by violence?
Mm.
How do we teach them without violence? Because to me, nothing has worked.
Yeah. Well, to match violence for violence, we got to get some nuclear bombs and some arsenals and a whole lot of stuff we don't have. So we have to do what we've always done, which was outsmart them. And I think that we have the capacity and we have the foundation. We have been lost. We've lost our roots, our connection to our roots, to our higher selves, our more evolved. They took a race of more evolved people and marginalized and minimized them. So we don't know who we are. And when we understand that we can build pyramids and rocket ships and better ways of doing everything, then we can elevate and use our combined talents and strengths to get where we need to go. We have to again change the narrative, change the expectation of our own and of theirs, but first of our own. We have to show, and I'm an old lady, so I say we have to show these young people how precious and powerful they are.
I agree with that.
They have not been told. And as an old lady, it's almost impossible for me not to just walk up to these young people and grab their faces and say, baby, do you know how precious you are? Do you know how
Mhm.
beautiful you are? Do you know how strong you are? Stop fighting demons and shadows and legacies and all that, and just elevate to your higher knowingness self once you understand who you are. then a lot of these questions become moot. You don't see them. You see your own ability to chart your own course, to change your own direction and have an effect on the larger picture.
I agree with that. It took me, because the only thing I wanted to be when I was growing up was a blonde hair, blue eyed white girl, because that's all I saw. I didn't have anybody to tell me that I was amazing and I was beautiful and I was all those things. I didn't learn these things until way into my 40s, and I'm 59. So for the last 15 years or so, I'm like, oh, okay. And but a lot of it because I went back to school, I got educated, I got my degree in Africana studies, and I learned who I was and who my ancestors were and my elders were. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I want to be white, and I come from all this amazing greatness. You know, we were watched. You know, we had to teach certain folks how to wash their asses because they were living in their own filth and all this, and they talking about us that we're nothing, that we're less than, and you learned and you stole, not learned, but stole from us our culture, our beauty, our knowledge, and all that. It took everything that every day I would come home from school, my son would say to me, is this a good day? I would have to go home and just marinate in melanin because of everything that I learned and not want to go and like Denise said, this hurt somebody because of the horrific shit that I learned that white people had did to me, to me and mine own. But now that I know that who I am and what I am, and it's like I want to roll up on my younger folks and say, baby, do you know where you come from? Do you know who you are? And once it took me all these years in my prayer is that it doesn't take another black girl, another, decades before they find out who they are. Because if we learn who we are, that's the majority of the battle right then and there.
That's the fight.
That's all I have to say on that one.
Yep.
That's right. Well, like Stokely Carmichael say, this is for the collective, baby. This is the Black Lesbian Collective, my Black Lesbian Justice League right here. I want to thank you guys for joining us on the panel. We're going to kind of leave it right there. Before we go, Marsha, please tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me, like I said, in the Marsha Verses I'm on YouTube and on all your favorite podcast stations, and you can find me all over social media. I'm a keyboard warrior for your ass.
That's why we don't work out in the morning anymore, MW.
Okay?
Yeah.
We could reclaim the night, the power and the spirit of the night at the crossroads and all of that, and it is so much power. It's so much power, and I am determined to bring those stories because that story from 1619 to 2025 would put any action adventure movie to shame, would put any story of intrigue and strategy and planning and just sheer will to shame. So I'm gonna tell that story. That's what I'm gonna do. I wish y'all all the best. What you gonna do?
We're gonna have to join you one night. We have to join you one night.
All right, come on.
Marsha's Sphere. Praise Jesus.
Praise
all
Jesus.
right, Tracee, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you, baby.
You can find me on the social at Tracee Michelle Porter on everything. You can also find me. I'm an editor and contributor to Knock LA. That's KNOCKLA. This is online, and you can just find me and my Substack as well, Tracee Michelle Porter.
Right. Oh, Knock LA. That's some big shit right there. I love that.
Okay.
All right, Denise. We're gonna end that with a proper name tonight, Denise. Tell the people where they can find you, baby.
Listen, if you're looking for me, look for the L Project under their Lesbian Speaker Series, folks. I am not doing anything else other than that, outside of my private clients and what I'm already doing. So that's where you can find me.
All right. Thank you. Well, look, folks, I want to thank everybody that tuned in live on Instagram. You can follow me at Fight Goddess One on Instagram and at L Project LA. We'll see you next time. Peace, love, and power to the people. All right.